Who you got? Does it make your list? Which one of these is your favorite? Dead or alive? Take your pick. It's your choice, just don't bootlick. Tell us what you want in your top 5, and we gotta know the reason. Let's take a deep dive. If you the same as mine, I'll be your number one supporter. Now relax and enjoy the podcast. It's No Order. What's up, fellas? Yo, Bear. What's going on, Bear? How you feeling, man?
Oh, man, it's another blessed day. You know, ready to fucking get on this podcast and hear another top 5.
Hell yeah. I'm excited for this one too. For those of y'all out there, feel free to send us a message at KnowOrderPodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Patreon at No Order. You can find us No Order Podcast on all the platforms that you stream your podcast. Definitely excited for today's topic, and we got a special guest in the studio as well.
I ain't that special.
We got a special,
legend, you know what I mean?
Special guest in the studio. We do have a special guest in the studio, but I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the No Order Podcast. We are live here on Twitch. You can find us at No Order via the True Hogs Club. True Hogs Club on Twitch, No Order Podcast on Twitch. You can also find us on the streaming platforms that are all over the internet. Anywhere you look, you can find us. You can find us on Patreon as well at No Order on Patreon. We appreciate everyone becoming a subscriber. Want to say what's up to everybody out there on Twitch as well. Feel free to download on Spotify. You can also answer any of the questions that we have up there. Let us know your top 5s on each and every week's podcast. So we do have a special guest in the studio. We got our boy, brother from another mother, I know from both of us. We got Tone in the studio. What's going on, Tone? How you feeling?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. We appreciate you coming into the studio.
Stoked to be on the podcast and in the studio. You got a good setup in here. I like it.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Everyone, thanks for bearing with us. This is our first live stream on Twitch, so thanks for joining us as part of the first live stream as well. And we're super glad to have you here and all you out there on Spotify and other streaming platforms. Everyone can see the new studio setup. I'm trying to get here in the actual shot. Maybe I should have moved the camera back, but here we go. All right, we got an awesome topic here today with the No Order Podcast, top 5, Dead or Alive, and No Order. What do we got here, Bear?
We have Tone's top 5 90s alternative rock.
Alternative metal.
Alternative metal songs from the 90s. So
I wasn't a big metal fan growing up, but you know, I definitely heard a lot of these artists that he's going to speak about today, and they're all dope. So I definitely want you to start off with your top 5 right now.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us on the No Order Podcast, Tone. We got you here with your top 5, Dead or Alive, 90s alternative metal. Can you hit us with number 5?
Definitely. Before I get into it, though, I do want to mention that this genre, alternative metal, there's a lot of names for it. You guys may have heard of from either MTV or like early 2000s or late 90s, whatever streaming platforms there were back then. Probably not much, but the reason why I want to do this topic is because of childhood. It's nostalgic for me. I'm not like the biggest fan nowadays. I mean, I actually, don't quote me on that. I'm a big fan still, but there's a lot of good music out there, and metal is a genre that is so diverse that I'm a fan of, but I didn't want to dive into your standard traditional metal. So like when you say alternative rock, another great genre right there. This is like a subgenre of both of those of like alternative. Yeah, it's a mix of alternative metal and alternative rock and metal. And I'm not a specialist at it or anything, so like don't quote me on any of this. It's just me growing up in the era. I'm sure if all you guys grew up in the 90s, you will know some of these songs.
Yeah, and maybe we have some fans out there that didn't grow up in the 90s era but love the songs and can connect with them as well, or they were there in the thick of it, going to the concert. So
or heard it for the first time, you know,
right.
after the podcast, they're going to be like, well, I got to check this out now.
For sure. So this is your list, not theirs, on the No Order Podcast, top 5 Dead or Alive. Hit us with number 5 here.
All right, so my number 5 is Opiate by Tool. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Tool, but they're a huge staple of the 90s for
absolutely
progressive rock and like alternative metal.
Absolutely.
Well-known band, right?
For sure, yeah, well-known band. They've influenced a lot of the future alternative metal bands that came out during that era. I chose this song, that specific song, because they have plenty of good songs. I highly recommend checking out their discography. But I chose that song specifically because it reminds me of my childhood. I grew up with it. It's to this day, I don't listen to Tool as much as I'd like to say I do anymore. But when I grew up, certain songs stuck to me, and this was definitely one of them. For certain reasons, but it's overall a really good song. It's heavy. If you like heavy drumming, the drumming in this is amazing. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, now we got to know those reasons why.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
The drumming in it is insane. There's it's a pretty standard song as far as music composing. Like there aren't too many switch ups, or it's not like all over the place. It's consistent. It's just a bass line, the vocalist and the drummer going at it for a while, and then the guitar slowly comes in during the chorus, and then it gets super heavy with the guitars, and then it goes back, and it just keeps doing that until the ending. There's this amazing drum solo at the end, and for the most part, that's all it is. If you look at it that way, it's super simple song.
Now I know you're a pretty talented musician in your own right. Did you play drums, or have you picked it up? I know you play some guitar, and know that you dabble in some of the producing side of things. You play any other instruments there?
Good question. I wish I played drums. That's a badass instrument. I like to play around with it, but I'm not a drummer. I'm not good at it. I don't have rhythm. It takes a lot of rhythm, hand, foot coordination.
All your limbs, right?
Yeah, all your limbs.
Right.
It's such an impressive technique and skill to have that. Like I wish I had it. I do play guitar. I do play drum machine. I don't know if that counts. You press a few buttons, but
definitely
drum
seen you on the
machines.
guitar.
I know the sad trombone.
Did really well.
Appreciate that, Bear. Yeah, I love the guitar. It's that's
I know how to do
go-to instrument.
this on the drums.
Exactly, drum machine right there.
Right.
See, even Do.A
Rip
got
shot.
it.
Doo-doo-ch.
Definitely got that down, though. Definitely got that.
So that's a really solid number 5 to kick it off right away with Tool. What do you got for your number 4 on the top 5 90s alternative metal songs?
Okay, so number 4, I'm gonna go with "Send the Pain Below" by Chevelle. To be honest, it's not. This band's from the 90s, but the song isn't a 90s song. It came out like 2000 or 2001, I think, but close enough. It's part of the same era.
All right, we'll let it slide.
Are you guys familiar with that track?
Yeah, I'm familiar. Are you familiar?
I'm definitely not familiar. I gotta check that one out.
Well, if those of you that aren't familiar with it out there, Tone's going to give us a little bit on the background of it, Bear.
Okay, so I chose that song specifically because, as I mentioned earlier, these are all songs that I grew up to as a kid. And this one specifically, I remember hearing it on MTV in 2001 or so. I don't know. I was in elementary school. I liked it at the time. I wasn't that focused on artists or genres or anything. I just liked the song. You know, as a kid, you're just like, oh, that's a good song. And I remember it specifically reminds me of a few times that I used to go to Rasputin Music, and they would have, on the aisleways, they would have a monitor, and it would have
Where
a
you
little
can
user interface, and you can listen to like 30 seconds of a song. And I remember I would always go to it and look for that song. I knew nothing about the band, nothing about the album. I didn't pay attention to any of that shit. I just was like, this is my song. I was really young. Go in there, I'll scroll for it. I'll scroll down and find it, and then put the headphones on and just blast it as loud as I could. It was a good song. It's something I really enjoyed.
So definitely something that you remember. If you heard right now on the radio this song, it would really bring back some good memories.
For sure. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we've come a long way since people have been listening to the radio.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're talking 90s, so I'm trying to bring back 90s way of listening to music, you know.
Right.
No,
or even on your Walkman, you know.
No,
with
actually,
the cord fucking headphones and shit.
For sure. See, I had a CD player.
There you go.
Little
CD with the no skip. So when you're running,
back in the day.
Yep, you already know.
Anti-skip,
yeah, the anti-skip.
And you had to wind up your Walkman if you had any tapes, anything like that.
Oh yeah,
so,
definitely.
Those were.
I would say this was more of the era of the CD player, and like the first MP3s.
2000s,
you
early
guys remember
2000s.
the first MP3s?
Oh yeah,
like before the iPod came out, the first it was just
How many songs could you load up on that thing? Not very many.
like 20 songs or something. That was a lot back then. I was like, whoa, it's more than a CD. So I was like, holy shit.
Took 4 hours to upload.
Have the little black case too, so for all your CDs.
Oh,
so
yeah.
If you wanted to change it up,
yeah,
like, I don't want to listen to this no more. I gotta find a new CD to play.
Scroll through a book full. Yeah, absolutely. And that actually brings me to another question. You brought up Rasputin's music. Is that strictly Bay Area, or Did they have those in other
I think
states?
It's strictly Bay Area.
Yeah, I think so too. I
So
know
I
they
think
have a
you're
few
right.
throughout the Bay Area for sure. B-Town.
I think there's only one left in San Jose area.
Yeah, because I know the one in Hayward is gone.
San Leandro's gone.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Yeah,
R.I.P.
That was a great spot.
Best. It really was
Right.
as a childhood.
It's like
You had-
Blockbuster,
I
but
was
for
gonna say you had
music.
Blockbuster, but then for music, you go down and like you were talking about, Tone, like they had that opportunity for you to hear different songs. So if you wanted to try something new, you can. Then it
Right.
had all the classic movies from the
dude.
80s, 90s.
Yeah, for sure.
They did have the movies there
So
too. That's a good point you
could
bring
buy
up.
for the $5 for the low.
Right, Bear.
Yeah, for sure.
So I know I definitely had a bundle. I still do of those DVDs. A lot of people,
Classics.
have the streaming platforms now.
Yeah.
And I definitely still have the CD-ROMs just in
We're gonna
case.
need those to make a comeback because I need to sell mine. So whoever wants to
Make a little quick come
make
up.
me an offer, I'm all about it.
Discographies, man.
So we got Tool and we got Chevelle. Send the pain below. Opiate for Tool, and you're gonna hit us with your number 3 here, Tone, with the No Order podcast with Do and Bear. Hit us with number 3 on your 90s alternative metal songs.
Okay, so before I get into number 3, I just want to make one point really quick.
Shoot,
I think the one that's all over California is Amoeba.
Amoeba music,
but
yeah.
I think you guys are right. Rasputin
Yeah.
music is Bay Area.
I think nationally
and
it's
Berkeley.
Tower Records more than likely.
Oh, for sure.
Tower.
Yes.
And obviously
Oh,
there's
Tower
others
Records
out
in
there.
Asia, everywhere.
I think that's where one of these vinyls I got up here behind me came from Asia.
Nice, dude.
From a Tower Records
Oh,
in
yeah.
Asia.
You gotta
though,
show
which
me
is
that.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. We got to check that out. Well, we got a pretty good stream going on here. Check us out on Twitch with the True Hogs Club and the No Order podcast on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, and anywhere you stream your podcasts. So, Tone, you got us here with your number 3 90s alternative metal song.
All right, so my number 3, I know you guys are going to like this one. I'm sure you guys have all heard it. Falling Away From Me by Korn.
Definitely
Classic. For sure. For sure.
I could just, right now, by you just saying the name, I could hear it in my head as we're going.
Right.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
I wish we could play some of these, but they have those DMC laws, so I wish we could hit a little snippet. But
Go check
yeah.
them out. Go check these songs
For
out.
sure, go check them out. I don't know if the last time I went to the Korn concert, but I know that they were in the Bay Area here recently.
you
Did
were
you
with
end up
me.
going to
You
that?
went with me.
Hey, I was with you. Yeah, I remember
I
that.
actually took your brother.
Oh, yeah. Also, you got a great story.
Concert, and Korn was highlighting that.
Tell them about the shoe
Wow.
coming
Okay.
out.
Tell us about that one.
No specific person. But
Yeah, don't drop
the
any names here. We don't want to dox them.
There was somebody I was with that told me, hey man, these fucking mosh pits ain't nothing what I'm used to. I'm definitely used to better mosh pits, and went in and literally 30 seconds later came back with a shoe in his hand, all beat to shit, and I'm like, hey, what happened? You okay? And he's like, it was fucking crazy in there, man. So we got him a beer, got him his shoe back on, and he was good for the rest of the show.
So he
love
lost
that
his
story.
shoe. I wonder if he got a flat tire or got knocked off his feet. or
I've
something.
definitely seen him in the air, so I think he got knocked off his feet for sure.
It's like
Oh
a
my
rag
gosh.
doll getting flung.
Nice.
Yeah, he there were some big dudes in there, I'll tell you that.
Well, I know some of our friends. We got some big dudes as friends, and then we got some littler guys, but I think everyone can hold their own. I've seen in the pits, stir in the pit. So yeah, enjoy and love hitting the pits at these metal concerts for sure.
So quick shout out to Do. I've been to a lot of concerts with this guy, and like heavy concerts. He's one of the only guys that stays in the pit for every song, and he's in there with me, and we're going at it. And we have a big group of friends here and there, and a lot of them have to back out. It's like, dude, some of them are rough.
experienced a metal concert with Do. I have experienced
Oh, you gotta go with
You'll
those,
be
bro.
surprised.
concert with them. That was
Yeah,
that was
we had
dope.
a good time. We had a good time for sure. But these metal concerts, like they're way more interactive, especially if you're down in the pits, bumping shoulders, and everyone's there to have a good time. So if you've ever been in a pit or haven't been in a pit, you know that it's all love and no one's out there to really try and hurt each
For
other.
sure, yeah.
But
Yeah,
you're
it's
for
just
sure coming out of there definitely a little bruised.
having fun, thrashing.
Yeah, it's a great workout too. I mean, you're gassed if you're staying in there the whole time.
If you want to lose weight, go hang out in a pit for like 6 songs. It would come out drenched and
I
sweat.
definitely need to do that then. Definitely. On my
I think we all need it.
Next concert, let's go.
We're there. Well, say hi to us if you see us out there with the No Order podcast at one of the pits near you. I know we're going to be going to a few more concerts, so hopefully I can still hang here, Tone, in the pits. I know it's been a few, and I definitely, unfortunately, missed the last one, so I'm wondering if you have this band or a song from this band on your list for the concert that I just missed, but I'll hang off on that one and see, because I'm not sure yet, but yeah, you could probably see me on YouTube in some of the, I think maybe Corn Pits or System of a Down or Rage Pits. I don't know. You can probably see me out there, and I know we probably see you.
Good artists for sure.
That's not the one I was thinking, but yeah, shoot me what you got.
So really quick on the topic of Korn, this band I've always enjoyed a lot, and as I grew older, I realized what they've done, and I didn't know this at the time, but they created a genre that was different. They were one of the first to really, well, not the first. They were part of an era of artists that created this alternative metal. Is a whole genre that I'm talking about, but there's another genre called nu metal that was very similar to it, and they kind of are intertwined. Everybody you call like a certain band, like all the bands I've named so far can be named vice versa, yeah. So it's like it was after the whole metal scene, like yeah, Slayer, you have Metallica, you have all these other bands and the hardcore punk coming from the 80s. Like you have these outcasts coming in who didn't really have a say in that style, but they also appreciated so many other genres that they wanted to make their own style.
Yeah, create their own lane. That's awesome.
For sure. And I feel like Korn was a big one. Like growing up as a kid, I never heard anything like that. And I grew up to music. I have older brothers. Like when you have older brothers, you're exposed to so much music. It's part of the reason why I got into music. And then like my parents too, they knew a lot of good music, a lot of classic rock, 80s, freestyle. I got into hip hop. Rap.
I'm so glad that my parents had a good taste in music.
Right.
And showed me a lot of different artists that a lot of people, when you never heard this growing up? And they're like, nah. And I'm like, well, you had a bad childhood.
Yeah.
Dude, exactly. I say the same thing. Like, dude, you missed out.
Then you could kind of say like, oh, yeah, that kind of makes sense why you're like how you are.
Definitely, because I still could remember, looking back and, just my mom playing her records and, just dancing through the house and just like amazed by some of these artists and what they've done and looking at them today and how many people, sample their stuff and, just try to, take what they learned from that artist and, make their own.
Yeah, they say the 60s, 70s is definitely like the golden era of like music and then going to live shows as well. But I feel like being able to grow up with your parents handing that down to you, but also maybe seeing the other types of music that you've been able to either be a part of as like hip hop or something that's pop as far as what's popular at the time, opposed to maybe just pop music, and teach their own, right? Not saying that that's my favorite, but it's also something that you can see like, hey, this for sure has those influences like you're speaking about, Bear.
For sure, man. Good point. So on that, so where I was getting at was I like that Korn really took that specific genre and they made it their own. The specific thing that stood out about it was they were the first to really kind of rap on metal. Like there's a lot of flows.
Also like, scatting, I think, was that. Yeah.
They would do that. They would have a DJ scratching. Like no one ever did that at the time. And that was big. And then
in metal, with the actual DJ putting cuts in there for sure.
For sure, yeah. Awesome. All these bands were trying that and doing it. And it was just a whole era that I think was really special. And like obviously I was born early 90s, so I can't say I seen that happen. But luckily I had older brothers who exposed me to it. So like I was able to hear it at a young age. And even at that young age, I appreciated it. I didn't dive into it like I am now, but I was like, wow, these songs are great. I've never heard anything like that.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool that a lot of the maybe things that our friends do and a lot of people do kind of go in with maybe the sport of, say, skating or just thrasher type mentality, life like that. It kind of can be a soundtrack to other mediums and genres. I won't dive too far into it, and maybe you can speak more on it, but I think that is a huge part of just, growing up and then becoming who you are as a person as a whole. Your whatever type of music you like can kind of be enveloped in that.
Yeah, for sure. I like that.
We're on the top 5 90s alternative metal songs here with the No Order podcast. That was number 3 with Korn, Falling Away From Me. We're down to our number 2 on the list of 90s metal alternative songs from Tone here.
All right, so number 2, this was a tough one. It was almost number 1. Settle for Nothing by Rage Against the Machine.
Wow, I'm surprised on that one.
I definitely want to say that that's a dope ass band.
Oh yeah, for sure. The band in general, I'm really surprised about the specific song because you don't hear many people saying that may be their top song in a genre.
A catalog of Rage that you're saying so many hits that you're like, how'd you get to this one? So
right.
I gotta hear why this song.
I like that you mentioned that. It is one of their more rarer songs. It's on the first album, but something about it really speaks to me, and it's a whole other style. Because like you guys said, they have a million hits. I mean, they have so many. I'm exaggerating with a million, but they have a lot of good hits. Every album's good. Evil Empire, go listen. Battle of Los Angeles, go listen to. If you're a Rage fan, you know that. If you're a hip hop fan, you're a Rage fan. Everybody knows. Like Zach De La Rocha, dude, he's like what I said earlier, like how these new metal bands were starting to incorporate hip hop verses and flowing and kind of like having that smooth that rhyme to what they say instead of just yelling in the typical
screamo.
Yeah, instead of the typical metal style. Which nothing against that. It's amazing, but like this genre was it was something else. And I think Rage, along with Korn, were on top. Were like the pinnacle. They were the start of it right there. Like
I know.
Yeah, they're some of the biggest bands in all of the whole genre, but also
Rage is probably
in the world. Yeah,
I was gonna say in the world because Rage took out. Went to different countries, and not only in America. I know recently, before COVID, they were supposed to come back to the Bay Area, and I actually had tickets to the Oakland one, and
I'm waiting. I'm still waiting.
So upset when they had to cancel because of the COVID.
Hey, I still have my ticket, but it is coming up in June, right?
I still got my ticket too. No, they postponed it to 2023.
23, yeah, June 2023. Sorry, I was going to say that, but
you know what I mean?
It's another year from now.
But that's just another year we have to wait. And it's like we waited so long to hear them live again. And it's just
because you're going to get so many people, just like the Pits from Korn or any other band in this genre. There are going to be some close quarters. So
for sure. So I regret saying this, or I'm ashamed, but I haven't been to a Rage concert yet because they weren't touring for a while. They broke up. They broke up in the early 2000s, and like I know a few. I think you might have gone. I know my older brother's gone. A few of my brothers and friends have gone. Like in the early days when they came to San Francisco.
Oh, that place was rocking.
I heard stories, man. If you want to talk about them.
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't want to say too much, but it was on the pier, so on McCovey Cove. So it felt like when everyone was out there, it's concrete on the bottom, but obviously it's on the pier. So it felt like the whole ground was moving, like waving under you. And then
insane.
It was also with a hip hop show. So you had people from all walks of life there. And obviously it's the Bay Area. So you have everyone from all over, but hip hop fans, and it just became a whole clash. And it was, I don't want to get like into any negativity about it, but it's kind of scary when you got that many people all crammed together in one spot.
Yeah, no, like I see videos on YouTube of those concerts, and I know Zach De La Rocha is known for like stirring up the crowd and getting everybody going for like almost to the point where they're gonna riot and stuff. Not in a bad way, but just to rage against the machine, like to be
from Los Angeles, California.
What they talk about, you know what I mean, and their political views on a lot of stuff. A lot of people are into that, so they really take heart to what he speaks about.
Yeah, if he says something, the people are going to do it. So, and he said he'll be right there with everyone doing it. So, for sure. I'm excited for that one coming up.
Think about it. Like their first album came out in '91, I believe, and like that was when like the whole Ronnie King thing happened, and like that was huge. So like they were kind of had the NWA vibe where like they were like fuck the police, like they were against law enforcement. They were against like politics, capitalism, unjust
against the people.
Yeah, and I think it's cool that they were like that. They had a meaning. They had a voice. They used their music as a voice to really like go against these unjust things that what they felt was unjust, and I'm sure most people would. It's a crazy era, man.
Yeah, and to speak on how big they are as a band as well, just being a band that had their song in the first Matrix movie is like
Yes.
huge, being super well known, but also underground sort of to most people, being kind of against the grain at the time.
So I'm really glad.
Against the grain. Definitely against the grain.
I'm really glad you said that because that's actually how I discovered Rage. Well, actually, no, I had cousins and stuff who listened to them and stuff, and I would hear them.
Mm-hmm.
Where I fell in love with Rage first was, I know you guys all know it. If you don't, I don't even want to talk to you, but Tony Hawk Pro Skater, man.
Yeah.
If you played Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2,
That was the game.
Oh,
that was
we could do a top 5 on the songs just on
Yes,
that game.
I
Both
agree,
games, first
for
2
sure.
games alone.
It had Guerrilla Radio.
Yeah,
on one of the,
and I
on one
wouldn't
of the
hate on
tracks.
anyone.
And, man, that hit hard. I used to always, I think on the L1 you can hit replay.
Yeah.
Like I would replay the song every time. I'm like on the vert, like doing a 10,000 flip, whatever the Tony Hawk trick.
DJ repeat with a voice.
Yeah, DJ repeat.
Little inside joke here, but that is an awesome one. And yeah, I just wasn't expecting that specific song for a Rage Against the Machine song, Settle for Nothing. So it's really a good one, and it caught me off guard. And I
It's
think
one of their
everyone out
darkest
there
and
needs to
deepest
check it
songs,
out.
in my opinion. Mm-hmm. A lot of the other ones have a lot of aggression and rage, and like they're really like outspoken, like very loud. Like you can tell what they're talking about. But this specific song, I feel like I don't even think I have the meaning of what he's saying correct, but I just like it because it hits on another level. Like you can adapt a song to what you feel they're talking about, and that's what music's about. And that's what that song did to me. Like it pulled me in. Like it had this. He has this concept like settle for nothing. Even the name, it's kind of like don't settle for garbage.
Right.
Like,
Don't let them walk over
There's
you.
a lot of people out there who would just give up and sit on their ass. And he's kind of like
being stagnant.
Yeah, and like his life, he struggled. He struggled with like racism. He struggled with like poverty. Like his family was poor. He didn't even know his dad. He says that in the line. He's like, never saw the color of my father's eyes. Like all that type of stuff that he grew up in. But what he's trying to say is like, but I didn't settle for shit. I got a mic. I stood up and I started a
Did
band.
what you had to do.
Yeah, I found out what I was good at and I did it and I succeeded at it. And like I like that. That's always been a mentality that I've kind of grew up on. It's like, if you don't like something, then fucking move on.
Yeah,
Go
change it.
find something else. Change your way.
A lot of people are scared to change, so they, I only know this, so I'm going to stick to it. And it's like, nah, man, you could be so much more. Don't let your dreams die because you feel you can't accomplish something with it.
Yeah, bettering themselves is a huge part of that as well. So I appreciate you both digging deeper into that here on the No Order podcast. I think we're down to our number one on the 5, 4, 3, 2, number one on the No Order podcast here on Spotify, going live on Twitch as well. I thank everyone for tuning in. And once again, we thank Tone for coming in and joining us here on the No Order podcast with Bear and Do. What you got for us, Tone, on the number one 90s alternative metal songs?
All right, my number one, you guys already know it. Big fan. Deftones, Be Quiet and Drive.
Okay, I was hoping that it would be on here.
It's definitely gonna come
One
out.
of their songs would be on, and I knew it was gonna.
It could have been any song, but that specific song is just so good. It's a really good song.
Tell us a little bit about why this was your number one here. I mean, I guess it doesn't really need any introduction, but if you haven't heard of it, we for sure have fans out there that maybe will go out and listen to it if they haven't heard of Deftones, or if they haven't heard of the song specifically, or maybe it's just a blast from the past for them. What you got for us, Tom?
All right, so aside from the song being really good, similar to the Rage song, I think it was like 98 or 99, Dave Mirra Pro BMX came out. I don't know if you guys remember that game as well.
Yeah.
That's another classic, man.
Right. R.I.P.
That had a really good soundtrack as well. It took tips from Tony Hawk Pro Skater and had a really good soundtrack. I had like Sublime, and I heard a lot of cool stuff on it. And then I remember I heard that specific song that I just named, and it stuck with me forever. That's one of the very few songs I can say I listened to once a month my entire life ever since I heard it the first time. And like, you know, you have a favorite song, but you can go months without hearing it. You can go listen to other stuff. That's one song I can say like once a month I'm still listening to it, and to this day I listen to it every day.
On a heavy rotation for you, huh?
For sure, yeah. That whole album, I mean, Around the Fur is a great album.
And that's dope that you still, like you said, you constantly, monthly listen to the song. Like, so that hits hard and what you feel about music, because
Lasting.
a lot of people, skip around in genres and, they have a phase. So you having that, core foundation of this was my music, and I like to come back to it and hit on it is really dope.
I like that you say that, but I do have to mention everybody does. I've had phases, and I still do. Like everybody does, but
everybody has a phase.
Not in a bad way. I mean, in a good way. Like there's so much good music out there, you can't limit yourself.
Well look at
you don't want to either.
I don't want to. Yeah, I love so many genres that like this is just barely like touching it, but it's a song that like just lasted for a long time.
Since we're talking about music, growing up, you definitely heard a lot of music that I listened to growing up, and it was presented to you and you were like, oh, this is a dope song. Where vice versa, as we're being adults, I come to you sometimes with, music tips like, hey, Tone, what do you, what's out there right now? Oh, definitely check out this group. Or even showing me older songs that I didn't know about. And I'm like, oh, snap, I didn't how did I miss this? This is a great song. So music is, so diverse and so, speaks to everybody in their own certain ways, that you could have that, and being in phases of it is not a bad thing at all. All it does is create that foundation even more.
100% agree with that. I love that you mentioned that, and I personally remember like between you and me growing up, like you showing me a lot of cool shit, a lot of dope shit, like early Andre Nicotine, a lot of like gangster rap, hip hop. R&B, like a lot of cool stuff, and then like it's cool that we can still share that to this day, and it's
you're showing me jazz,
like, so many different genres, and like genres that you think you would never hear of, and same thing with me, like other genres I thought I never heard of too growing up, and like.
Well, I definitely know one genre that I listen to now that I definitely didn't think I would ever listen to.
What's that?
And that's country.
Country.
But there is definitely a lot of songs that I can't speak on his name, but I definitely have one friend that put me on, and I could definitely sit here and say I enjoy it.
So
is that because you might be moving out to the country here soon? Or?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Country now, but
so country is definitely one genre that I've never gave a shot. Like I don't listen to it.
Well,
I have
maybe
nothing
you'll
against
have to.
it. I just don't listen to it.
And I would definitely say you should, because you're gonna
expose me, man. Show me some music.
You're gonna hear some stuff in there that I was really surprised about, and obviously there's a lot of women in music, and I definitely kind of like a lot of women artists in country and what they speak on, because it gives you a different perspective on stuff. And me being a dirtbag, I definitely hear some of their sorrows, and I'm like, great tip for the next time.
Hey, they're kind of that's funny.
The way you look at it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to get too down on.
Shoot me a few country songs one of these days, so I can take a listen, because I'm not exposed to it. I don't listen to it. I'm not against it either. I just don't. Like, I don't know it.
Yeah, no.
And maybe that's one for another podcast topic in the future.
Yeah, not right now. I'm just saying, like, outside of this.
No,
like,
I definitely feel like, all music. That's why even with this, alternative metal, like you said, it's
subgenre.
You can't really specifically say this group is that. Like, you could flip flop through them, and they made their own sound waves. So. I definitely would say that, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper and look for some, because like Tool is a well-known group, but I haven't specifically heard the song that you brought up. So I definitely want to check it out and see what brings that, why is that a memorable song for you? Because it might hit me too in the way it hits you. So I definitely want to check that out.
For sure.
Awesome. For sure. Well, we really appreciate you coming on the No Order podcast here, Tone, with Bear and D.O.A, and wanted to give a quick rundown of the top 5 songs that you had for us. Tool, Opiate, Chevelle, Send the Pain Below, Korn, Falling Away From Me, Rage Against the Machine, Settle for Nothing, and Deftones, Be Quiet and Drive. One that I'm disappointed that I wasn't able to make the last concert. I know you were able to go to the Deftones concert here recently. And
actually, I missed it too.
Oh man!
Yeah,
all right.
So we're both
we're
heads down
losers.
right now.
Sorry,
we had tickets, but it was a last minute work decision.
Right, and it got pushed back a couple times. Anyways, no excuses from me. I don't think you're making any as well. But I wanted to also maybe come up with a couple of honorable mentions. I think that I had on my list that maybe I thought maybe other people might have on their list. Not specifically you, but I had Alice in Chains, Man in the Box.
Oh, great artist right there. Great song specifically. I love Alice in Chains.
I also had Incubus Drive, which would be one of my top. I know they're maybe not so much as metal as what you had on yours, but definitely alternative.
They're that
rock.
Era for sure.
Not,
the scratching
around the same time. Metallica, of course, everybody knew Metallica as one of the biggest bands. Sad But True
Legendary.
was huge around that time. And then Red Hot Chili Peppers, Under the Bridge. So I thought maybe that could be some top honorable mentions,
Great mentions
in those
man,
songs.
I love all
maybe
those
some
songs.
Soundgarden or something like that, Black Hole Sun or something. But we really appreciate you coming on the podcast. We're going to stay here live on Twitch, but we appreciate those that are following on Spotify, and we appreciate those that are listening on Amazon Music, also on Audible as well. Thanks so much for tuning in. We're signing out. Thanks so much, Bear. Thanks, Tone.
Appreciate you guys. Check y'all later.
Thanks for
Peace.
having me. I really appreciate this.